Adventurer Prankits might just be the strongest deck in the meta right now. Today we're gonna go over Adventurer Prankits DPE. Now I based this list on the YCS topping list of Raphael Nevin from a few months ago. The meta back then was a little bit different, of course, so there are certain changes that had to be made. And of course there's also the difference that that was a TCG type of tournament, so you didn't have Max C. So again, that changes a few things, but I'm trying to make the changes as properly as possible to make this still completely relevant for the Master Duel format, and overall I think this list is really solid. I will also be playing this on ladder myself, but of course without the terraforming and 1-for-1 unless I open some more packs. However, I do feel these are pretty important in here, especially the 1-for-1. So we start off with 2 Effect Failure. Effect Failure is of course a really good hand trap, but it is also a spellcaster tuner, meaning you can special summon it from Halka Fibrax to then make a Selene, to then make an access code and OTK your opponent. That is one of the main reasons it's in here. If we were not able to do that, I would probably play another hand trap instead of this. I would maybe play the third Ogre or maybe a Droll or something like that. Next, we have, of course, our Prankits package. Now, if you still need entire explanations for Prankits, go to my older Prankits videos. That way you will see like the combo line and you will see all of that good stuff. I will try to now more so focus on, the modern version of this deck rather than going over the bare basics of Prankits. So again, I'll put it in the link in the description probably, just my older Prankits videos. But overall, we're playing 3 fansies because this is a 51 card deck. You do want to draw your Prankits above all else. Next, we have Magician Souls. Now, this card is a bit worse in the Master Duel version of the deck. And the reason is we don't have Illusion of Chaos. This is a card that came out later on, which can be both the fodder in order to special summon this out, whilst also being the searcher. So that was really solid for the deck, but we don't have access to that right now. So do keep that in mind, but still the card is so insane that you need to run it. Because Magician Souls, if you did Brave Token stuff will end on a Draco back on field and a Fateful Adventure on field. So you have 2 spells on the field. You can then special summon a Magician Souls really easily, discard, or well, send to the graveyard the Draco back plus the Fateful Adventure, and then draw 2 cards. So Magician Souls basically makes the Brave Token engine, on top of all the other BS it does for you, a pot of greed. That is incredible. That is insane. That is also why 1-for-1 is so much better in this deck, because not only can 1-for-1 search for your fansies, meaning you have one more way to get a Prankit in a 51 card deck, it can also be the 3rd copy of the Magician Souls. Now, of course, if we were in TCG, you would also have an Illusion of Chaos, which could search this. It would be better, of course, but we have to take what we get. In my opinion, the impact of this card is so huge that we want to run it anyway. If you have a 3rd copy of Magician Souls, put it in. Make it a 52 card deck. It's really good. Next, we have 3 Max C because Max C is insane and broken. Then we have 3 Drop Cs, again, part of the Prankits. We want to run as many Prankits as possible in order to be able to do our combos. Sadly, we have our Roxys at semi-limit, but I don't know if I would run the 3rd of that. We'll see. Next, we have our Ghost Ogre. Like I've said in my Craft This video, Ghost Ogre is really amazing this format, and so for that reason, I want to run it. It's solid against Fluanderies, it's solid against the Brave Token engine, and so just like that, this is a huge card. Next, we have Triple Ash, just a generic good hand trap. Because Prankits are so lean, like you only need to draw 1 Prankit to do a combo, you are able to run high amounts of hand traps. We actually saw this also earlier this year when suddenly every single deck was playing a Brave engine, a bunch of hand traps, and then whatever main engine you could, think of. Usually it was Prankits or some based pile or whatever. We often saw the 3 Ash, the 3 Veiler, the 3 Ogre in that. And so here we have the same, though I didn't quite want to run 60 cards, so instead we are running 10 hand traps, but then also 5 other defensive cards. So overall, the math works out to a point where you're gonna have a pretty solid hand going 1st and 2nd. Next, we have Lampsies right here, which is just the other Prankit. Then we have 2 Water Enchantress, which is part of your Brave Token engine. We have our Celestial, which is part of the DPE engine, because of course we're running that. This is good stuff deck. Prankits are good, DPE engine good, hand traps good, Brave Token good. It's just really cool. Next, we have 2 Roxys. It is the worst Prankit, but okay, it's limited to 2 for some reason. Then we have 1 Dasher, part of the DPE engine. Then we have this. It's a semi-brick in the sense that this needs to be in your deck in order to special summon out Magician Souls. However, you can special summon this card from your hand by discarding 1 card. So, very worst case, this is still an extender. You are still able to make plays with this card. And also, it is a spellcaster, so going 2nd, you can make Selene with it, which which then leads to access code. So it's not a bad card, but of course, if we were in the TCG, this would be the Illusion of Chaos. It would be better, but if you want to play the Magician's Souls, you want to feel that high of drawing Pot of Greed, and you're gonna have to play this one card. It is what it is. Then we have Wandering Griffin Rider, again, part of the Brave Token engine. One Foolish Burial, again, part of the Brave Token engine to be able to mill out the Water Enchantress. Now, if you already have the Brave Token engine live, you can also discard this for Magician's Souls to draw. So, also pretty good. We have one Terraforming, which searches you your Prankit's place, and that way you have more access to your Prankits, which then means you have combo. We have one 1/1 to either search for your Fansies or your Magician's Souls, depending on which one you don't have. We have our Fusion Destiny, because it's Fusion Destiny. We have two Triple Tactics Talents. This can be used, you know, going first and second to keep on extending, to break boards. It's really solid. But if you really want more hand traps, you could also just put in Nibiru here, if you wanted to. Then we have two Rite of Eremacir. This is part of the Brave Token engine. Draco Back, part of the Brave Token engine. Then we have Prankit's Place. This is a searcher for your Prankits to get your whole thing live, and it also has some other effects here. Then we have a Brick, Prankit's Pranks, essentially. That leads to all your other combos. Again, I have Prankit's videos on this channel if you want to check that out. Then we have Double Fateful Adventure. Now, if you want to make this deck less bricky, you could technically turn this into 1, and then you have 50 cards instead of 51. But in order to be able to play a bit longer, because this deck can do a little bit of a back and forth, also if you got rid of the first through your Magician's Souls, it is still pretty good to run too. Then Double Called By. This card is insane. Get rid of your opponent's DPE, play through a hand trap, and so forth. Then we have one Pandemonium. This one might be surprising to some people. As you know, originally Prankits is a fusion deck, right? So you're able to make your Butler, you're able to make this Weather Wash thing, you're able to make the Rocket, and so Pandemoniuming in your opponent's turn, and then next turn you can still do it, and blah blah blah, and people were even playing Polymerization. All cool, of course, but this deck is now a Link Climb deck. This deck is now able to make, you know, your Brave Token board, and then a Verte with a DPE, and then your opponent's turn, like next turn a Selene, with then because of a Hulk into an Access Code, and you just instantly OTK. You really no longer need that endless back and forth Prankits playstyle. Being able to just search the Pandemonium, which all of your Prankits combos do, and then ending in your opponent's Butler, you know, wiping their board, and then that being passed to you, together with all of this shit you can do, you no longer need more Pandemoniums. You no longer need the Polymerizations. This is just something to search to then have the big blowout card, but your entire deck no longer revolves around it. You have the Brave Token stuff and the DPE, and then the Link Climb stuff, which is enough to close out games after you've already done the double Raigeki from the Butler. And then finally, we have 3 Forbidden Droplet, which is of course just insane going second. Also make sure you don't get side locked and so forth. So again, if you wanted to make this leaner, you could maybe cut a Terraforming, you could maybe cut one Fateful, you could either cut these entirely or turn them into Nibirus, but I do think it's worth, you know, the extra power and of course the extra consistency with the Terraforming to run it like this. But hey, if you want to run less than 51, that's one option. Now for the extra, we have Weather Washer. Again, you might still be making this. We are still able to with the Prankit stuff, but sometimes you just won't. We have the DPE because this card is just insane. Celestial is also a draw too. So again, if you want to resolve Pot of Greed, this deck is for you. You have so many Pot of Greeds in here, it's insane. Then we have our Butler. You make that in your opponent's turn with Pandemonium and wipe their board. We have Link Spider, which can be made with the token, which you made with Pranks, or the token which you made with Rite of Eremacir. Then we have our Meow Meow, which is, well, the start of every single Prankits combo. Also, rest in peace in the TCG because this card was banned. Running 2 because you might get rid of one from the Butler, and oh, I don't know. We have room. It's not that big of a deal. If we had the Dark Charmer, you might run that over it, but it's not in the game. So, and we have one Hulk, really easy to make in this deck because we have, you know, a bunch of stuff to do with the Brave Token. We have the tuners, which we can just normal summon, and then it's pretty easy to make, especially also with Magician's Soul. So we have 3 cards that can be specialed out really easily, and then with any normal summoned hand trap, you're there, except for Maxi, which is not a tuner. Then we have Nightmare Phoenix, some generic Link Climb thingy, not that relevant. Then we have 2 Doodle Doo. We have 1 Bark, again, part of all the Prankit stuff. Verte to make the DPE. Unicorn to be Link Climbing. Selene to be Link Climbing. This is probably going to be the main Link Climb you do. Hulk finds you Veiler, Selene. Selene makes Access Code, and then you do OTK. Because Access Code with Brave Token and Griffin is GG. Access Code with DPE and Brave Token or Griffin is also GG. So it's very easy to OTK with this deck through that. So that is the Adventure Prankits DPE deck. This might unironically be the best deck in Master Duel right now. Of course, there's other really good decks. It might also be Phantom Knights. It might be some Cyber Cerberus Eldritch type deal. I don't think it'll be Sword Soul anymore. Funnily enough, the Brave token engine just wipes the floor with like most Sword Soul boards, especially because we don't have the big long one thing yet in this game. But at least this is definitely a contender for the best deck right now. Not necessarily exactly this build. Again, we'll need some time to figure out, you know, how different this deck is in this game rather than in the TCG, because we only have, you know, these as 2-offs, the Ride and the Water Enchantress. It'll take a little bit of experimentation, but this should be really, really solid as a list for you already. Also very UR heavy, of course, so if you make this, I assume you have most of these cards, because otherwise, yikes. Hope you found this interesting. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you soon. Ciao.